Then welcome back to a little project called Lary Talk. I am your host with no throat, the man with a voice that even cancer couldn't kill, though his wife wishes sometimes it would have, Henry King. And welcome back to this little podcast. Remember, it's not the best cop podcast in the world, but it's a podcast. And you will know that if you're watching us on YouTube or if you're checking us out on Spotify or wherever you're getting your podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Click the like and the subscribe button. And as always, thanks for the support. This week's episode, guys, is going to be all about eating after becoming a laryngectomy. I've seen a lot of questions recently about it, and I see a lot of my friends, personal friends, don't really understand the process of it. So we're going to go over it and show you that it's not really that bad. Even if you are stuck with a tube, you can still have a pretty good time. But let's get into the first thing. As always, go check out My Silent Partner. It's a book by Aaron Wayne, and it's his first year as a laryngectomy. It's a good book and talks about his journey in becoming a laryngectomy. It's full of humor and not a bunch of scientific crap you're going to get, you have to look up. It's a really easy read, and it's a good book. And if you contact him, you might get you a sticker to decorate your HME if you have one. The one I'm wearing like this week says "Press to Talk" because that actually seems fitting, right? So let's get on our way, shall we? So if a lot of you are tuning in and you don't know what a laryngectomy is, I do suggest you go back and watch a few episodes, get caught up with the rest of us. But let me go over it again with you in layman terms here. Okay, so a laryngectomy procedure is the removal of your larynx, the separation of your trachea and your esophagus. Okay, so I breathe through the thing I'm pushing on. This is called an HME, moisture exchange. So it takes the place of my nose. Okay, I do not breathe out of my nose or my mouth at all. Not at all. It comes out of that hole in my neck. Meanwhile, they have separated it. So your trachea comes one way and your esophagus is another way. Your larynx, or as you would call it, a vocal cord, covers more than just letting you talk. It actually stops food from going down into your lungs, food and liquid. So that way you don't die. It goes where it's supposed to go. So when you remove that, everything would just go wherever it wanted. So they got to make it so it goes out somewhere, and they put it out your neck. As far as food goes, it doesn't go in this hole at all. You'll exacerbate and die. Okay, you can't do that. Nothing goes in this hole but oxygen. Okay, and you either eat through your mouth normally, like you normally would, or some people get stuck with a feeding tube. Okay. Now, this isn't a temporary thing either. This is, permanent. There's no reversal. There's no going back. This is how it is. This is the rest of my life. I will have this. And so far, it's been all right. I'm a young guy, still in good shape. It's been all right for me. I'm able to do this podcast. I'm able to give out some information to new people and show some positivity. So, all in all, I can't really complain, right? The reason why eating after this is so difficult is because, okay, you're taking out the main muscle in your neck that makes it so you can swallow and pull food down into your esophagus, into your stomach, okay? Your esophagus is that giant muscle, okay? It's going to squeeze. Think of it more like a snake eating, it's going to bring it down for you. You take that away and then damage all the muscles around it. It's going to take a while before it recovers, if it ever does. Okay, there's sometimes it don't, and that's sad. And we'll go over that a little bit later. So, for everybody that doesn't understand this, okay, try swallowing without swallowing. Okay, that's the best way I could put it. Let gravity go down. I mean, you're gonna choke. You're gonna probably fucking choke and need a Heimlich maneuver, but that's what it is. With us, though, we breathe to our neck, so we ain't got to worry about that. Like, you will never see a laryngectomy needing a Heimlich maneuver for something out of his throat like that. Not going to happen. You can get food stuck in there still. I've done it a bunch of times, and it's kind of weird the first time you do it because you have that instant panic. Oh crap, I'm gonna die. But after about a minute or so, you're like, oh, that ain't too bad. And then you figure out ways to get it out. With me, I've always been lucky and able to like kind of cough and burp it out. Kind of hard to explain. I know some people would probably reach down, but I ain't doing all that. So like what I try doing is like I do a burp thing because it'll kind of get air going through there. And try drinking method. If drinking method don't work, I try making myself vomit, and I usually it will come right up. I haven't had to do it too much, only like 3 times I think so far, and I've been a Larry for 2 years, going on 2 years in May. So now after the surgery is done, it's controversial really because they're like, oh, within 3 months you can get it working again. Well, yeah, but you're still missing your larynx, and that kind of helps separate and pull, and. So and not only that, here's the reason why I think it's more controversial than anything. You start your chemo and radiation usually about 6-7 weeks after surgery. So right there, radiation damage is going to cause problems too. Like my throat was fine after surgery. I got home and I was eating like soft foods, like mashed potato, a lot of fucking mashed potatoes. I can't stand mashed potatoes anymore. I hate them. Anyway, a lot of mashed potatoes, a lot of like soft eggs, pudding, jello. And my number one go-to thing was milkshakes. Oh my God, I felt like the kid in school that got his tonsils out that you were so jealous of because he got to spend a week eating ice cream. That was every day for me. I was eating milkshakes straight out the bowl, straight out the carton. Sometimes I didn't care. Now, the problem with me, though, is if you remember going back a few episodes even, I only had 5 teeth. So I had 5 teeth and they were on the bottom separated. I looked like a bulldog. So eating for me was a little bit more difficult than what it would have been for somebody that say had dentures or if they just had their teeth, It was really difficult trying to eat anything. But I was able to eat, like after about a month, I think it was, I was starting to able to eat like things like a hamburger. I wasn't mounting right down. Again, if I had teeth, it probably would have been fine. It wasn't until the radiation damage started happening and it made my throat swell up that I couldn't eat anything solid. I could still do liquid and I could do soups and purees and all that. I could still drink coffee, thank God. But I couldn't eat anything solid, like at all, like nothing. It was annoying. And your food's limited when it gets to that point in ways. But again, I could eat like soups and stuff. So I wasn't worried about like the things with my peg tube. And we'll get into that in a little bit as well. I know a bunch of Larrys that like have just been normal after that. It's like they were able to eat or whatever. One that I was mentoring refused the peg. He did not want a tube. And he made it throughout the radiation eating normally, and I gave him props, man. He carries his testicles around in a wheelbarrow because damn, dude. But yeah, so I mean, it all depends on the person. It's just like everything else we say in this. And now I mind you, before I get into anything else, this is not medical advice. I am not medically trained. I am not working for a hospital. I don't work for any medical facility of any kind anywhere. I don't even have a degree. I got a high school diploma. So everything I say is from a Larry's perspective. It is not medical advice, okay? Don't go on the internet finding medical advice on YouTube or a podcast, kids. Listen to your doctor. They're a phone call away. They'll listen to you. Talk to them. I'm just talking out of a Larry's perspective. Always follow your doctor's advice, okay? I don't want to get sued. So in preparation for this episode, I actually went on my personal Facebook account and seen if any of my mouth breathing friends had any questions about eating as a laryngectomy. And only a couple people got back, 3 of them, but they're pretty close friends of mine. So, and their questions made me realize they don't really kind of understand what a laryngectomy is yet. So let me go over the first question. How often or long was there, if there was ever a fear of shit you ate falling out the hole? That's actually a good question, Robert. Um, when I first got my laryngectomy, I didn't have a tub, so I didn't have this. I couldn't talk like that.
Everything I said came and sounded like this.
So I wasn't worried at all about that. I can tell you what I was worried about when I first came home, though, was like, I didn't really understand how the procedure was done. And if so, even then, I was like, the stitching that goes around here, I was worried about that separating. That was my main concern. I was like, oh man, I'm going to cough too hard and everything's just going to fall apart, man. That was my concern. As far as eating went, like I said, I was eating soft stuff, so I wasn't too worried about that. It was more drinking. Like, I can give you a funny story. Okay, my first day back, we're trying to figure out what we can make that would be good and I can kind of drink it, right? So we pureed ramen noodle. I think it was chicken flavored too. Don't do that. It doesn't improve it by any means. It was the grossest thing. I took 3 sips and was like, I'm good. I am good. Now, mind you, I still had taste. A lot of Larrys will lose taste because they can't smell. You know, they got to learn how to smell. So I still had my taste though, and I was able to smell when I was still in the hospital. So that was kind of cool. But to answer that question, no, I was never worried about it falling out of my hole. What I do worry about is when I drink, because that's the sign of a tep leak, is when you drink, water or whatever you're drinking will come out of your tep, either in the middle of it or around the seams of it. The way your tep is, it's got a flange that goes around in the back of it and then comes out. Like, I'll have to do an episode showing about just the tep. This is pretty interesting how this little thing works and vibrates. And so that flange around the edge on the inside of your esophagus, that's where it can leak around sometimes. And when I first got my tep, that's what happened. It leaked on me. And it kind of sucked. Like, this was like, you didn't know it was leaking at first. It was like, man, why do I keep coughing? And then all of a sudden it was just leaking. And if you don't have anything in there, man, it's bad. Like, anything you drink would just come out. Anything you eat would just come out. And you don't want that at all, man. It's going to cause pneumonia and all this other stuff. So you don't want that. So that's the only thing I worry about is when I drink, especially because mine started first thing in the morning. So when I take that first sip of coffee, it's like a test. Am I leaking? But that's actually a really good question, man. But no, I don't worry about food. Okay, Robert also asked, how is it feeling of swallowing different in any? Well, yeah, it's a lot different, really. A lot different. When you swallow right now, you're going to feel all that go down. You got an Adam's apple, yeah, all that's going to go down. So when you swallow, you can feel all those muscles working. When I swallow, it's not quite that much. Like the back of your throat with your pharynx is like kind of. And then once it gets past that, you're really relying on gravity until you get down into your lower esophagus, where then it will push it down. So like once you're in here in this area, there's no muscles, so you don't feel it at all. Like at all. So swallowing does feel different, man. Especially when you're like right after surgery, it feels like you're trying to learn to swallow again. It's almost like because you've been so worried about swallowing that you don't swallow, or they tell you not to swallow. And then when you do swallow, it's kind of like trying to learn again. It's like a hard swallow, And again, this is all just my experience. This isn't, I'm sure everybody has a different experience. You know what I mean? Okay, my next one is from my buddy Mike. Is there any fear of choking on your food when you eat? No, because I knew how the dynamics work. I understood that, I breathe through this. I don't, so I wasn't worried about that. Food didn't bother me. And like I said, when I did choke, it kind of freaked me out at first, but then you're like, all right, well, this sucks. And you figure out a way to unclog it. My surgeon actually told me a story about somebody that had to go and get steak tips removed. I guess it was like a month after surgery. And they were like, well, steak tips it is. Don't do that. But as far as worried about choking on the food, nah, I'm never worried about that. In fact, in our laryngectomy support groups, a lot of people make jokes about that. A lot of people like me. It's kind of funny. Okay, my next one's from my friend Jen. Were you afraid of not being able to breathe while swallowing or choking on food below your neck? No, no. Like, you mean choking on food like in my lower stomach? I don't really understand that question, but no, no. Like the food choking on food is never once like if I worried about that really. Because like I got to join uh support groups and heard other people talking about it. And I had a couple mentors, you know what I mean? People that are talking me through things. And that's the one thing that really never worry about that. And yeah, nature makes you worry about that. But then once you realize what's going on, logic kicks in, you'll be all right. Then again, no food's going in here, all here, you know. You don't want anything going in there but air, occasional marijuana. But shh. So that's really it. That's all the questions I got from people. The way I'm looking at it at the end of the episode, if you still have any questions, man, go in the comment section on YouTube. Find us on Facebook. We have a Facebook group and a Facebook page. You look up Lary Talk for the page, Lary World for the group. And I'll be glad to answer whatever question you got. So, I mean, really, what is different for me as far as eating goes? Not really much. Now that I got teeth, I can actually chew up pretty good. The one thing that's really different is you got to really chew your food a lot more than what you used to. You know what I mean? You're not swallowing chunks of food anymore and wolfing something down. You know, what took me like 10, 15 minutes to eat back in the day will take me probably about a good 45 minutes now. I haven't finished a hot meal in probably about 2 years. So literally it'll start off nice and warm, but by the time I'm done, you know, it's room temperature really. Then there's been times where I've gone and re-nuked things, you know what I mean? Warmed it up in the microwave or something, just because, you know, anything with a melted cheese onto it, you kind of want to keep warm, you know what I mean? I have thought about buying like a little miniature hot plate, you know, to keep underneath things, but I ain't too worried about it really. Like a burger would have taken me like 5 minutes to wolf down back in the day. Now it takes me about a good 15 minutes to eat a burger, you know. And it does make you selective on where you're gonna go to eat, you know what I mean? Like I haven't done a buffet yet, mainly because of the COVID thing. And I didn't have actual teeth. But once I, you know, I'm thinking about hitting up the buffet, see what that's like. But I mean, other than that, for me, eating isn't really all that different, other than I have to slow down and chew more. And when you don't think you're done chewing, chew some more, man. You'll get food stuck a couple times before you realize, oh, I should probably chew that a little bit more before I start swallowing it. And I drink a lot more during food, you know, during time of eating than I would have. You know, I washed a lot of things down. I actually have like a little ledge in the back, and my surgeon said he could fix it, but I'm just like, I can get food down. I ain't too worried about it right now. Once I can't get food down, then I'll worry about it. But in the meantime, like I can just wash it back with some water or whatever I'm drinking. So that's how eating is different for me. But other than that, it's pretty good. Now, other people, on the other hand, that we're gonna go over with this, they're not that lucky. You know, they have to eat a puree of some kind, or they're eating through a tube. You know, that sucks because I couldn't picture not being able to bite into a nice burger. The one thing I did notice with dentures, though, man, is like you're not biting into things like you used to. I ain't grabbing an apple and chomping down on that. It's not happening, man. They're gonna come out, no matter how much glue you use. You know. So that's the one downside about that. The other thing I get asked a lot is if taste is different. And it kind of is after you, because you're not smelling anymore. So that kind of changes, you know, it's one of your senses. You know, when you're looking at food, you see it, you smell it, and then you taste it. That's the experience of food, right? And then the feel of it, blah, blah, blah. So you take one of them away, and it is kind of weird. But I had my taste right up until radiation. Radiation took away my taste the entire time until it came back probably about maybe a month after radiation ended. I started getting my full palate back, and it had reset my palate. That was the cool thing. Things I didn't like before, I like now, you know. Like I never used salt on anything back in the day, and now I'm using salt on everything. And it's just weird. Not enough to kill me, but enough to flavor, you know. Like at one point, I love milk, and during radiation, I could not have anything dairy. It tasted so gross to me afterwards, and so I couldn't drink milk for a while, and that kind of irritated me. Luckily, coffee though, I could always taste coffee. You know, thank God for freaking coffee. Best part of waking up is just having coffee in your cup. So now let's talk about actually eating right after surgery, right? When you wake up from surgery, you're going to notice you have a tube either in your nose, in your mouth, or at one instant in the stoma. I can't find what that's called, but I know somebody had it done. Same dude that didn't want the tube. Never heard of it, but it actually made sense because then, you know, you ain't got irritation going on. And it's an area where they can puncture afterwards to give you a tip. So, I mean, that kind of made sense to me. I just never heard of it. But most of us wake up with it up our nose. And these are called an NG tube or an OG tube. Now, let's get into the name of these tubes for a minute, because there's several types of feeding tubes. Short-term feeding tubes go through your nose or your mouth or your stoma, like I said. They can be done by, you know, pretty much anybody in the medical field that knows what they're doing. Somebody special, you know, a nurse, you know, they can be done at your bedside. Where a long tube, on the other hand, your long-term feeding tubes cannot be, okay? And we'll get into why. Each one for the short term is named after the point of entry and where it ends, okay? So for the nose, they go nasal. For the mouth, it's oral. And when it leads to the stomach, so gastric is what they use. Okay, so if you have a nose to the stomach, it's a nasogastric tube or an NG tube for short. If it's in your mouth, it's orgastic tube, which is OG for short. Stoma one, I have no fucking deal, man. I have looked it up. I can't find it. I'm just gonna call it an OG NG because whatever, dude. I can't find it anywhere, and I'm sure I will find it, and you know, I'm going to be interviewing a doctor soon, so I'll be asking him about that one. So there's 3 points we're going to end at: the gastric, duodenum, and the jejunum. I'm probably butchering those words too, man. Reading's hard. Anyway, so again, these are going to be your abbreviations for those, you know, NG, OG, ND, NJ, OD, and OJ. But I mean, whatever. And these tubes will never go into your colon, but you know, your actual colon. It won't go that far because they need it to be able to absorb nutrients, and your colon doesn't absorb nutrients. So quit shoving coffee up your freaking colon, you morons. God, I hate people in LA sometimes. Anyway, so the NG and the OG is the one that's most common, especially with laryngectomies, because you could do it bedside. They're easy to remove. You don't have to see a specialist. There's no special thing they have to do to get them in or out. The downside of them and a plus side is they're easy to remove. The downside of the easy remove is sometimes patients will accidentally remove them. Sometimes patients get fed up and just do it on purpose. So, I mean, there's stories, man. So that's some of the bad side. That, and also it irritates the hell out of your nose. It can scratch up the back of your throat because it's going all the way down into your stomach, you know. So that can irritate a lot of things. And when you first become a laryngectomy, your nose is constantly running. I was constantly wiping my nose. You're trying to figure out how to deal with all this, and that tube right there rubbing, it just made everything red and annoying. I was so happy when that came out. So happy. And another reason that this is a good idea with this style of tube is because then you're getting the nutrients naturally. It's not going right into your stomach. You know what I'm saying? You're getting it down and it's absorbing through naturally, like you naturally would eat. That's the plus side. Another downside I hated with these, they took so long because it's a drip. You know what I mean? You gotta let it drip like an IV. So feeding took like an hour. It was annoying. I hated them. And I only used it right after surgery. Some people, like I know the Larry right now, is about to go and get her whole thing redone. And she's got one for the next like couple weeks, but they're only for short term. Anything less than 6 weeks, these are the kind of tubes you're going to get. Anything more is where you're going to get into the other kind of tubes we're about to get into. So your long-term tubes, those are the ones that they take a specialist to put in place, okay? And those are the ones that are going to come out of your stomach. They're named differently too. They go by the location of the end of the tube with the word ostomy on it. Ostomy is when an opening from the inside of the body to the outside is created. So going through your head, and you have the words gastronomy or G-tube, or you know what I mean? So, or genodostomy. I'm messing that word up. Holy crap. Fun words, right? Anyway, so unlike the point of entry with short-term, long-term goes by how the procedure is performed. Okay. So the one you have, which is common one we all had, is percutaneous endoscopic, which means to go through the skin with the assistance of an endoscope, called a PEG tube or a PJ tube. And then you got the radiologic version, which means they go through the skin with the help of using an X-ray device called a PRG tube or a PRJ tube. And then there's the good old-fashioned just cut you in, put a TG tube in style tube or a J tube. That's where they just cut you up and go in manually without the help of anybody. But again, these are all done by specialists, usually like gastologists, which is a funny word. I'm a gasologist, hell. So these are your common tubes, okay? And what I'm going to talk about now is those G tubes. These are the ones that go right into your gastric. 90% of us will have these. They are temporary, but they're more of a long term. You're going to be wearing these throughout your radiation, probably a couple months afterwards. I think I put mine in the week of radiation, I think it was. And I got ahead of the game. I put it in just in case. And I'm kind of glad I did, because like a weekend of radiation, my throat closed up on a camping trip. Because, we went camping because we ain't smart. There's the only thing we could do to get away that wasn't around people and, was open for 2020. So we went camping. And during that time, I went to go eat a hot dog, which I'd been able to eat all week long. And yeah, throat closed up. So I'm glad I had a tube. Now, you can, if you have the short term, if you have them in your nose and everything, you have to use a liquid. I mean, I would imagine, because the tube is a lot smaller than the one that goes into the gastric. So I wouldn't chance making a puree and sipping through it and all that. I wouldn't even chance all that. Just stick with like the Jevity or whatever they give you. Ensure is what they gave me in the hospital. I think it was chocolate. I don't know. I didn't really taste it. But if you have the regular G tube or a PEG tube, I mean, I put in a lot of different stuff. I know I didn't do too much, but like I did a beer because I just wanted to see. And I usually stuck with just like the Ensure and Jevity and stuff like that. I was able to drink soups and stuff. So I was doing the soups and then, every morning and night doing the Ensure just to make sure I didn't lose too much weight. And like I was drinking so much tomato bisque that like the doctor told me to stop. It was making my levels all weird, which I thought was kind of funny. So when you're using a tube, right, you're going to get a syringe, a big syringe, a plunger-like thing. And I wish I still had my tubes so I could demonstrate for you. I'll throw some pictures up here so you can see it if you're watching on the video. So pretty much the tube comes out of your stomach. You take a plunger, you fill it up with whatever you want to put in there, whether it be the Ensure or water. And then you just plunge it in your stomach. Now you're going to have a clamp on there too. So you got to make sure you're going to clamp. I don't know how many times I've done that. And then you clamp it back up when you're done feeding. I don't know how many times I've done that. Because if you don't clamp it up after you're done feeding, everything you ate just leaks all over the place. It's like you just pissed yourself. It's kind of funny. At the same time, it sucks because it's a waste of, whatever you just did. So after every feeding, you don't want to clean it, obviously, and make sure you're cleaning around where it goes into your stomach, because that can cause a lot of bad infections. Sometimes they'll leak. Mine kind of leaks sometimes. And the guy that did mine, I mentioned this before on the podcast. He was a dick. He had a problem with me. I don't know. I didn't want to stay overnight because of a bag tube, especially because I know how to use them. And that's what he kept saying. We got to teach you how to use it. You got to teach you how to use it. It's like, I've already used the feeding tube. It's the same concept. You put your food in there, you rinse it out afterwards, you move along with your day. So me staying didn't make any sense. And my nurse practitioner, she agreed with me, and it kind of pissed this guy off. So he gave me a feeding tube that could literally hold up like this. It was insane long, like 2 feet long. So that kind of sucked. It was hard to conceal, but normally you're able to conceal them. You can like tuck them in or whatever. Now I've heard a bunch of Larrys that actually blended up, made a puree of their food and put it through their G tube. Like if you're gonna do that, make sure you strain it really, really good. Like put it through a sieve, so that way there's no lumps. You ain't got to worry about clogging it anytime soon and cause yourself a bigger problem. Me personally, I never did that because I didn't see the point. I'm not tasting it unless I burp or fart a good way, I guess. But I just didn't see the point of it. You know what I mean? It didn't make any sense. So I stuck with just the insurance and, that one beer. But I've heard of Larry's doing it. And you can. I mean, they even told me at the hospital you can do that. But again, follow your doctor's advice. If you're told not to, don't. Don't listen to the guy on the internet with the funny hat. Okay. Always listen to the medical field. But if you don't have to have a feed tube, or if once it gets removed, you can eat normally. And if you can't, and you can only do liquids, it doesn't mean you have to have just Ensure or Jevity or whatever crap they make you drink. I'm gonna have a link on here. It'll actually be in a Lary group for privacy reasons, but I will have a link in the Lary group to a couple recipes that a woman, a very nice lady, named Ann Amanting. Okay. She has a couple, like her husband's a laryngectomy, and she has a couple recipes that he does. And I say recipes, but they're not really recipes. It's a method on how to blend your normal everyday food up to be able to drink it or eat it like a soup, or even put it through your peg tube if you want. And it can't be that bad because she's got a video of her grandson trying to steal grandpa's soup. So, I mean, and it was like steak and stuff. What you're going to want to do is just get a blender, man. Of course, mine's over there now, not behind me like normal. Blender, get a portable one for puree stuff. You're going to want to make sure you go through and with a fork, make sure there's no lumps and all that stuff. And then you can drink it right down. And she says right into these things, don't skip out. If you like a cheeseburger with cheese, lettuce, tomato, all the dressing on it, do it. And then blend it up. For savory and sweet things, you're going to want to add milk, stuff like that. For anything else that's like a beef and stuff, you add a broth, man. And she suggested doing a beef broth, which I love too. Beef broth goes with everything. Cereal too. Screw it. So what I'm saying is, it's not, even if you can't swallow that normal steak, you can still enjoy your steak. Keep adding water or broth to it until it's a nice soupy mixture. If you need to season it, season it. But there's literally no reason why you can't just enjoy food just in a different way. And, I get it. It's not the same, but at least you're getting the flavor. At least you're enjoying dinner with your friends, your family, stuff like that. A holiday dinner. Take your turkey and mashed potatoes, everything you would have had on your plate, just mash it up, drink it. Sounds all right to me, man. So, yeah, I really suggest, trying out some things. If you can't eat normally, Try out some things. That way you're experimenting, you're enjoying life, you're having fun still, you're not dreading it. Because it can get really, like, I will never eat mashed potatoes again. And I fucking ate mashed potatoes, man, because I was like, I'll just eat mashed potatoes forever. Don't do that, man. Don't get fixed on one thing because it's easy, you know. Also, when you're eating, when you first get your surgery, they're going to tell you to eat things like that because they want you to exercise those muscles. And remember to do your exercises, kids. Do those neck muscles, man. It'll help you so you can swallow. It'll help you so you can be able to talk more. Your swelling will go down. You'll feel better. You won't cramp up as much. Do those neck muscles. They are needed. And again, with Aaron's post, she's got things in here like pizza and tacos and stuff like that. Literally, if she says anything you want, you can blend up in, and it makes sense to me. So I would suggest checking it out. And I'll have it again. I'll have it in Lary World, the Facebook group for us. And if you have any like methods you use to eat or just a story you want to share, man, go to Lary World, comment down here on YouTube. Let's spread some word, man. The whole point of this show, man, like everybody knows, is just to spread awareness and some positivity. Let the future laryngectomees know that, you know, it's not the end of the world. And let people that don't know about us know what's going on. It's not all about the pink, you know. Let's go some other cancer routes, huh? I probably should mention taking care of your tube, okay? Because, you know, good hygiene is actually important, man. Don't worry about it getting wet in the shower. It'll be fine. The only thing I had to worry about was the damn thing dangling down, and it just looked funny. I'm just telling you that. I literally had to have mine with I took one of my wife's hair ties and wrapped it up, and yeah, that's how I carried it around. So it always looked like I had a little pouch. It's kind of funny. But yeah, don't be worried about getting it wet. In fact, wash around it. I didn't get any soap because I only used antibacterial soap onto it because, you know, just because. And always clean around there real good. Get a Q-tip, clean around there, you know. I just used a little bit of water. That was it, just to clean around it. I didn't get into all, you know, baking soda or any of that crap. I just water. Just make sure it's clean. Flush your tube every time you use it. Every time you use it. You're just going to want to take a little bit of warm water, probably about a cup, and flush it. And the plungers have all your measurements right there on them, so you ain't got to worry about it. You can take your medicine through your G-tube as well, if the medicine is able to be crushed or in liquid form. If it's not able to be crushed, don't crush it up, because then it won't work. It won't solve. It just make a mess. It clog up your G-tube, and you're not doing anything. So always make sure, check with your doctor about the pills. If you can't swallow pills, there's ways to get around that. They've got other style of pills, you know. And maybe you'll get lucky and get the bubble gum. Do you remember that? Ear infection says all I ever got was the bubble gum. It was great. Sometimes I hoped for ear infection just to get it. Sad. But always make sure you're taking care of it. And then when you get done with your supplies, wash them out immediately. Don't let them sit around and collect. They tell you to store them in a container in a refrigerator or in a baggie. I never did that. Mainly because I didn't read the directions onto it until afterwards. But yeah, store it somewhere where it's not going to get dirty, obviously, and contaminated with stuff. You don't want to put them in your bathroom, obviously. You know, you don't want to set them outside or next to your trash can or anything like that. So, but make sure you wash them out immediately, especially if you use longevity and all that stuff. It's gross. Now, let's talk about the peg tube removal. Depending on the style you have, you don't go under. Okay. I went in the office and I laid down, and the man grabbed that peg tube and he said, "On three, 1, 2, 3," and popped it out. Now, the way the type 2 works, it goes into your abdomen, and it's got a flange, like I was saying about your tub, right? Only this one's got a hole in it, so that way food can go in and out and all that, but it stays in. You can accidentally pull them out. I actually didn't sleep with my wife for like 6 months, it seemed, because I didn't want to accidentally, because it was so goddamn long. I didn't want her to roll onto it or me to roll, and so I slept on the couch just to make sure. And I'm kind of glad I did. But when this sumbitch popped that out of my stomach, my God, he should have shouted out, ta-da, because it literally made a noise, and it was worst pain I've had. Now, granted, the pain goes right away. Right afterwards, it went right away. But that's me. I also have high tolerance on pain. But when that first came out, oh my God. If I could scream, I would have been screaming on top of my lungs. But all you heard was, so it didn't really help me any. Now, there may be occasions where that's not the option and they go a different route and have to surgically remove it. But for the most cases, pop, ta-da, and you're done. And it hurts. I ain't gonna lie to you, I'll never bullshit on this show. That hurt like a son bitch. I was also glad to get rid of it. Then, I gotta show you now. What's the side effect from having a peg tube? I've got a second belly button. That is my new little belly button. Just there, play with it once in a while. I mean, if I ever have to have another peg tube, I don't know if they go in the same hole or not. I would imagine with the card, with scar tissue, probably not, but maybe. And when they pop it out, you cover it up. You just keep watching it, clean it, make sure it's not leaking. It's gonna leak a little bit, but it shouldn't leak a bunch. You get what I'm saying? And that's it. That was it. I didn't worry about it at all. They don't stitch you or not. At least they didn't me. They didn't stitch me or nothing. It was just an open wound. The way it works is the heal from the inside out. So, and yeah, probably about a week and everything was good. Scabbed over, don't pick your scab. And yeah, I was fine after that. Now I got another belly button. So for me, as far as eating goes right now, I'm able to eat whatever I want. Especially since I got the choppers. Once I got dentures, man, it was on, man. I was everything I wanted. So I've been doing steak and pork and Chinese food and whatever else, man. Literally whatever else. The only thing I can't do, it's not because of my throat, it's because of the teeth. Like I can't do anything sticky like caramel. I can't. It makes my teeth fall apart. Well, not fall apart, but you know what I mean. They stay together while my jaw comes apart from it. So, and it's annoying as hell. So I just avoid that, which sucked because all my favorite candies are like Snickers and Twix and all that kind of stuff. But I did eat a goddamn the Butterfinger, which was the first time in like 20 years, and it was everything as glorious as I thought it would be. So yeah, I've been able to eat whatever I want. I know a bunch of Larrys, that's how it is. They're able to eat whatever they want, especially after radiation and all that. After you're done with all that kind of stuff and you're actually healing and you're doing your exercises, it's all game. Other Larrys, on the other hand, they're still on tubes and will be for the rest of their life. It's just the way things work, man. It all depends on you. Everybody does it differently. Everybody has different issues, So it all depends on your personal experience, your personal scenario, man. Everybody heals different. Everybody has a different issue. Always remember that. What worked for me may not work for you. What worked for you may not work for me. It's a weird way that we're all the same, but we're really different. It's really weird how that works. We're all the same because we're in this together, but we're all different because each one of us healed it and took it differently, whether it be physically or mentally, It's a tricky little subject to be on, that's for sure. But I'm glad I'm here to be able to show the world we exist, man. Shit can be difficult, but we persevere. Persevere. Words are hard. So on that note, I've covered the basics right now for feeding. I think this is where it's a good point to probably end the show. I'm sure some of you are probably tired of hearing my voice in your ear, talking all sexy loud. So anyway, go get the book, The Silent Partner, My First Years on Laryngectomy from Aaron Wayne. Aaron, I'm going to have your goddamn email right this time. This poor guy, I've screwed up so many damn things trying to advertise this for him. But anyway, you can also find this book on Amazon if you would like to buy it, so that way Aaron can make some money. But he'll give it to you. He also makes these little cool ass stickers that go on your HME. I suggest you try them out. They're kind of fun, make people think. What else? I would like to thank Ann for allowing me to use her method, or her husband's method, I should say, of eating and sharing it with everybody. Hopefully getting the word out there. You can still eat, you can still taste. You know, it may not be the same, but it's still there. Thanks for the question, guys, on Facebook. Thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe for us on anywhere you get your podcast, on YouTube. Check us out on Facebook. You can find us at Lary Talk and our Facebook group, Lary World. If you go to larytalk.com, not only can you see the latest podcast episodes, but if you go to our help and support section, you can actually find help and support online or in your area with any of the links that are connected. I suggest if you're a new Lary, you definitely check out the support groups, Larry Speakeasy and Larry's Voice, okay? They're really good groups. They help me out a lot. And on that note, guys, until next time, take care of each other and have a good one.